best entertainment on the earth. Tune in for Comics with Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. How are you doing? You doing okay? You doing all right? Anyway, this mail starts off aggressive, but it's not meant aggressive. I think this is a case where it sounds like there's a lot of heat there, but if you look at it, I don't feel it, or maybe I'm just dumb. One of those. Anyway, it says comic books are not marketing, and our first sentence sets us off on a bad tone, but then you realize now it's not meant that way. It says, you keep repeating this lie. Pardon me. You keep repeating this lie, comic books are marketing. You say it so often, it must be coming from inside the companies. But it is a lie. What exactly are they marketing? How? And to whom? To even know comics exist, much less buy them, you have to go out of your way to specialty shops. Odds are, if you know comic book stores exist, you know Spider-Man and Batman exist. Comics do not increase movie revenue. It's been 15 years or so since movies increased comic sales, The Walking Dead TV being the only exception I can think of during that time. Now, there are other spikes, but Walking Dead is a good one. And the sales analysis is on this very channel. If you go to that playlist, you can see the Walking Dead sales analysis. It's a beautiful one. It's what you always hope for in your comic sales. It's you just feel so proud when it goes like that. But anyway, sorry, we'll keep going here. It's a cheap plug, as they say. The current comics they're putting out are not only not increasing the value of the properties, but actively damaging them. Is X-Men as a brand worth more now than in 2019? You know damn well the answer is no. Again, some heat behind this. It's good. Substitute basically any other name for X-Men, and you'll likely get the same answer. Tim Drake Robin t-shirts are not suddenly super popular among gay men. That'd be hilarious. But you're sure as hell not selling them to straight ones anymore, or to gay ones, like him as he was, for that matter. So the serious question, how exactly are comic books marketing? Who are they delusional enough to think that they're marketing to, and what exactly are they marketing? All right. All fair points, and not wrong. When they say comic books, when I say comic books are intended as marketing, I mean it differently than this person writing this mail is identifying marketing. Because marketing within a big corporation, a big company, has different meanings. It doesn't just mean, hey, here's some promotional material for a character and it will, sell this thing over here. It doesn't, that's not true. That is true direct marketing in its most pure form. What I'm talking about, what the comic companies are often talking about, and how the comic companies are aligned within the company is, marketing budget. And so in this instance, it's less about the specific properties and what they're doing and everything else, as it is the overall, the spin inside the company that wants to keep awareness of comic books active. So for example, to be specific, if you're Disney, you have a number of different properties. You have, theme parks and toys and that you license out to, and clothing and movies and magazines and books and everything. You're a global diversified portfolio of products is, I believe, the correct term. Comic books are one part of that portfolio, but Disney looks at it as part of the greater whole or part of the sum. They do not look at it like, hey, we've got a Spider-Man movie coming out, so let's make sure Spider-Man is there to properly promote and be aligned to the movie. And you know this because half the time, more than half the time, when a big movie is coming out that they produce or have a stake in, like Doctor Strange or like Spider-Man, Marvel kills the character or completely changes him. It happened for both movies. In Doctor Strange was dead. You had the death of Doctor Strange. In Spider-Man, you had Spider-Man in a coma, and Ben Reilly was taking over for that role. So, I mean, in all instances, by the way, just as an aside, wouldn't that have been a stellar moment to have Miles Morales have to step up and take on bigger threats? Like Peter Parker is down and out. Why wouldn't you? Why? I mean, I appreciate, hey, we brought Ben Reilly back. We did something with him, made a villain out of him. Cool. But, part of the goal of Marvel has been to build up Miles. Wouldn't that have been a good moment for that? Why is it that the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game did a better job of that. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy how that works. Anyway, but basically, the goal is not to have the comic books align to the movies. And when comic books do align to the movies, it's usually long after the fact, and they do it for popularity reasons, meaning, well, hell, the Avengers movie was quite popular, and the characters look sort of like that. We should try to change the costume for it so it looks more like the movies. Or Sam Jackson is showing up in the movies. I don't know. Wouldn't it be fun? Let's make a Sam Jackson the comic books. Then people may buy the comics. In many ways, the people who are making the comics are hoping to use the movies as marketing for them, if you want to be pedantic about it. But in general, when they say marketing spend, it's kind of code for, we don't really have a P&L that we're really focusing on for comics. We call it kind of auxiliary revenue. We call it, this is all part of raising overall awareness of the brand and the license and the merchandised properties that we're doing. It's marketing for comic books, not marketing for Tim Drake or marketing for Doctor Strange. It's holding a spot in the channel, and it's fairly low revenue. And for Marvel and DC, for that matter, both of them are pretty convinced, pretty certain that if they're going to do movies that are based off of comic books, then they ought to vomit out some comic books. It's just, that's part of kind of the business. If they're doing movies based on comics and they don't publish comics, then that seems weird. And also, I think there's a concern, well, somebody else could do it, so we could license it out, but then what kind of control do we have over it? And it's an out of sight, out of mind kind of situation. If I go back to 2014 or 15, earlier than that. Anyway, one of the comments that I got from, an editor at DC at the time, a senior editor at DC at the time, who's gone on to a different company now. The comment was, hey, one of the reasons why we control this, or why we do comics, and as opposed to licensing things out, is because, if we license things out, we lose a little bit of control over, what's being published, what's being done. And so you could wake up one day and find out that, he was joking. He's like, they've turned the entire Justice League, into gay robots, and that would be, then it would be obnoxious for the movie. It would be anti-marketing. You'd see Fox News and all these stations like, the Justice League movie is out in the theaters, but do you realize they're all gay robots in the comic books? Holy shit, when did this happen? You'd get stuff like that. And he's like, so that's one reason why we keep it closed. We don't license it because we do want to have some control over the content and, blah, blah. There are many reasons he was giving, but that was one of them. Now, humorously enough, or comically enough, I suspect that if you licensed the comic books to a smaller company and you basically said, hey, you're giving us a percentage of the revenue, you got to make it work on your own, so good luck to you. I suspect you would get stronger comics. Like, let's say, for example, DC decided to license out to Mark Millar, and it's like, hey, you get to do, you're running the characters now, you hire the staff, you deal with all that stuff. You maybe got Netflix money behind you, I don't know. But if you're Mark, are you going to go and put out insane, risky comics? Of course not. Your profit margin is, regardless, by the way, if you think about Mark, well, here, we'll put it a different way, because I know a lot of people like Mark. I like Mark on this channel. I think he writes really good, solid stories that, set up movies and things well. But let's say let's say Mark Waid was a billionaire, and they basically sold DC to Mark Waid. Now it's Mark Waid's company. Do you think Mark Waid would? What do you think would happen there? Do you think Mark Waid would be out screaming at everybody and producing like crazy comics, so they were disrupting the status quo and turning everything upside down and twisting characters this way? Do you think they do that? Do you think he'd do that for his company? He wouldn't, because it's his money at that point. It's his show. And, if you were to do that as a licensor, you have less margin and you don't have the big corporate backing of a, Warner Media or Disney. So, you'd have to be pretty damn stupid to run it into the ground, because you're literally, it's a faster fall to the ground. You don't have that backing. You're not marketing budget. You're your own budget. And so it's, it's just it wouldn't work. you'd see a lot of people shape up, or you'd see it implode almost immediately. So I tend to think that, if the company's licensed out the properties to a smaller group who's like, hey, you got to be profitable to stay in business. And, you're already paying some of your cut back to the licensor. So, you better do it right. That might be quite healthy, quite frankly, for shops, or for shops, for everybody. I think you'd see a lot more to the basics comics. I was talking with somebody like, why don't they just make a, straightforward Batman, Superman, Hulk, Thor? Like, couldn't you do 50 issues of the Hulk where it's just like he's a monster and tears shit up and he's got some enemies and people don't, are fearful of him when he comes around. He's got to somehow save the humans anyway. And you can't do 50 issues where it's just the Hulk fighting his rogues gallery, having adventures. Do you need to, twist it around by introducing a giant retcon where it turns out that his father was actually from Asgard and he's part, God, but then he's also infected with a monster worm. That's like, you don't need to do that. I don't know. Could we just get some fairly straightforward stories where heroes are being heroes? Anyway, I've gone astray. Anyway, the original question, thank you very much for the mail. You're not wrong. It's not marketing in the true sense. So, that is agreed. It's marketing in terms of how the money is viewed. Meaning marketing money is applied to something in a company to generate some kind of result. It's not, you don't look at marketing money that's spent and say, what is the profit and loss of this marketing? If somebody is going to make a movie poster, that's very clear, direct marketing. You're going to, you're going to promote a movie. So the poster promotes the movie, how well it does that. Is it driving people in? Is it doing that? Those are kind of metrics that you're assigning to it. You're not assigning dollars to it. You're not saying, did this poster make money? Did we sell it in Target? It makes money. Nobody cares. It's a loss in that regard. And comics have different metrics they're assigned to. Is it holding the space? Is it keeping comics in the public eye? Is it is it standing up this part of the business, meaning the direct market, where we were going to tap into kind of the aura of the direct market as we put in comic book movies. That's the purpose of it. What's not the purpose of it is to say, hey, is Tim Drake Robin making 5%, 10%, 50%? How much money is it making? That is not what anybody's focused on. To a point. I mean, if it's a pure money loss, comic, then it will be canceled to try it again. But nobody's doing the DNA research to say, hey, this comic didn't sell. Tim Drake, a bunch of news sites were joking that the Damian Wayne Robin, I remember Bleeding Cool, like Damian Wayne Robin, straight Robin canceled after only this many issues. Well, it lasted longer than Tim Drake Robin. So I don't know what that tells you. What it tells me is that, hey, in a world where DC is all over Batman and they break in money with Batman, they can't seem to figure out how to keep an ongoing Robin tale in the shops moving, selling. They haven't cracked that nut. So, maybe you just figure out some regular old adventures with a decent creative team on the book. Call it a day. That's your best marketing you can do. Anyway, thank you very much for the mail, and thanks for listening.